Hi, recap reporters here. Today I'm going to explain a sci-fi movie called Alita the Battle Angel. Spoilers ahead, you have been warned. The year is 2569, 3 centuries after the fall, a horrific conflict. A doctor called Hugo goes to the scrapyard to look for decent parts for his repairs and discovers a wrecked cyborg girl. He determines her brain is still functional and takes her home to construct a new body for her with the assistance of his assistant nurse. The cyborg awakens in a girl's room the next morning, surprised by her new physique. She changes on clothing and heads downstairs, where Hugo is caring for other cyborg patients, after admiring her new self in the mirror. Hugo is relieved to see her awake and offers her some breakfast, at which point the child admits she can't remember how to eat a basic fruit. She has no recollection of her prior existence, and Hugo hasn't uncovered any records of her either. After that, the girl goes outside for the first time to see Iron City. It's a lower-class neighborhood, and she observes Salem, the last of the big sky cities where the privileged dwell. Following the conflict, survivors came to Earth to live, and all labor done here is for Salem, but no one is permitted to travel up there. Hugo names the girl Alita and asks her to live with him. Hugo goes out to do some chores with Alita, allowing her the opportunity to watch a motorball battle on a giant screen and make friends with a street dog. Alita also discovers a wanted poster with a reward for the capture of a criminal who murdered 6 women. At that time, a massive robot arrives in the center of the street, prompting Alita to take a defensive posture. Hugo, a young guy, swiftly pulls her out of the path, but Alita returns to save the puppy. Hugo is impressed but warns her not to meddle with the centurions who protect the city. The 2 teenagers get along well until Hugo interrupts them and drags Alita back home. A woman tries to return to her apartment late at night, only to be ambushed by the sought killer. The following day, Alita starts assisting Hugo with the patients and discovers that a guy had his cybernetic limbs stolen by jackers, who sell them in the underground market that supports motorball games. Alita goes out after work and meets Chirin, a fascinating woman with a symbol on her forehead. Eventually, Chirin meets with Hugo, explaining that they were formerly married and that Hugo repaired Alita using the cyborg body they had created for their deceased daughter. Chirin wants to cooperate with Hugo again to create a motorball champion to help her go to Salem, but Hugo refuses to create monsters. Chirin then departs, and Hugo watches her getting into a car with Vector, the man in charge of the plant. Meanwhile, Alita runs across Hugo, who is enjoying a game of motorball with Tanji and his buddies. He agrees to teach her how to play and loans her a pair of roller skates, which Alita must learn to move in. She gets the hang of it after a few falls and manages to collect a lot of points. Hugo brings Alita to sample chocolate for the first time after the match, and they observe Zappin going by. He's a hunter-warrior who carries a sword because weapons are illegal down here. Alita continues to work with Hugo in the morning and hang out with Hugo in the afternoon on subsequent days. Hugo brings Alita to a very high building to obtain a good view of Salem, and he admits that it is his desire to be up there eventually. Alita pretends to go to bed in the evening and waits for Hugo to go so she may follow him. She discovers him in a dark alley pursuing a lady called Nisiana and pulling a scythe-shaped weapon from his bag. Alita tries to stop him and gives up their position, believing he is going to kill Nisiana. It turns out that Hugo is a hunter-warrior who hunts down evil men for bounty, and this is a trap set by Gruishka. His subordinates are Nisiana and Romo, and all 3 are cyborgs with highly sophisticated components. Hugo assaults Romo and takes his arm, but Romo joins forces with Nisiana and defeats him. Alita leaps in, desperate to assist, and begins effortlessly beating Romo up, almost as if she was meant for it. When Gruishka prevents Hugo from joining, Alita pursues and effortlessly kills Nisiana. Gruishka is astounded by what he sees and attacks Alita as well. As Alita attacks with a powerful kick, a memory occurs and she sees herself wearing special armor on the moon. She's in the midst of a tough conflict when Gelda phones her. Returning to the present, Alita kicks Gruishka's arm off before attempting to attack him with Hugo's scythe, leading Gruishka to flee through a hole in the ground. Following that, Hugo visits the Hunter Headquarters warrior to surrender Nisiana and get the bounty, which allows him to keep the clinic open and aid others. Alita informs Hugo about her memories and asks to know more, so Hugo takes her home and reveals that he constructed that body for his wheelchair-bound daughter Alita. When an addicted patient approached the clinic one day asking for the drug he could take as an upper before a motorball battle, he killed Alita. Chirin couldn't cope with her daughter's death and fled. Ito desired vengeance and went in search of the man to kill him, which led him to learn he was adept at it and led him to become a hunter-warrior. Ito gave Alita his body, but her brain and core are her own, and the core is powered by an antimatter micro-reactor, which means she could power the entire city on her own. This technology hasn't been created since before the fall, making Alita almost a decade old. Meanwhile, Grushka returns to Chiron and informs her of Alita's abilities. Chiron agrees to fix him, and Vector arrives for an interrogation, but Grushka's demeanor abruptly changes. It turns out that Zalem's leader Nova can connect with humans on Earth via any cyborg he chooses to hack into. Nova says that Alita knows Panzerkunst combat skills, so he tells Chiron to reconstruct Grushka and dispatch him to kill Alita. Then Nova takes over, and Vector offers to send Chiron to Zalem if she agrees to work for him. Later, Ito investigates the bounty list and learns Grushka is missing, implying that he is being protected. Alita wishes to become a hunter-warrior as well, but Ito prohibits her. Alita, enraged, flees and encounters Hugo, who brings her to a motorball battle. Hugo utilizes his contacts to show Alita behind the scenes after seeing all of the players fight hard, saying that a motorball champion gets to go to Zalem as a prize. Alita observes Chiron and Vector since they specialize in creating cyborgs for motorball. The current winner is not one of theirs, and Chiron requests that Vector obtain his parts for her. The winner is enjoying his triumph when he is suddenly assaulted by a bunch of jackers who catches him in a ring of fire. Then they load him into the back of the van and grab his arms, which Vector arrives to purchase for Chiron. Hugo and his buddies are revealed to be the jackers at that point, and they are doing this for money. Vector requests that they deliver the weaponry while he kills what remains of the winner. Hugo and his buddies accompany Alita to explore the magnificent natural scenery outside of town the next day. A ship that was lost during the battle may be found in the lake. Several scrappers grabbed different portions, but it was mainly left alone because it was created by the adversary, the United Republics of Mars. Hugo believes that this would help Alita retrieve her memories, so she jumps into the lake, where she is having problems breathing. She enters the ship by going underwater, where she discovers a peculiar entrance that leads to a mysterious force field. Seeing all of this, Alita summons the control panel and disables the shield, exposing a sophisticated armored body that she takes with her. As Alita returns home, she requests that Ito give her this body since she has a unique connection to it, but Ito refuses. He says that this body is a Berserker, an armed cyborg that knows Panzerkunst tactics. Alita's core was reacted to by the ship since she was designed as a weapon, and Ito does not want her to be a weapon again. He believes it is preferable for her to have a regular existence. Despite Ito's concerns, Alita walks to the Hunter-Warrior headquarters to register. Then she asks Hugo to drive her to the Hunter-Warrior hangout. The dog from the previous day notices them and decides to accompany them. In the bar, Zappin mocks Alita for her youth and introduces her to the might of the other fighters, such as McTeague and his cyborg dogs. Alita ignores his mocking and addresses everyone in the pub, urging them to band together to find Grushka and overwhelm whatever is sheltering him. Everyone laughs at the concept, and Zappin mocks Alita for it. Alita responds by insulting him, prompting Zappin to attack her, but Alita easily defeats him. Alita then labels everyone pitiful and proposes a deal. If she defeats them, they must promise to work together. A bar brawl quickly breaks out, and an amused McTeague watches as Alita effortlessly kicks everyone's buttocks, with some assistance from Hugo. Ito enters and stops everyone by threatening to charge them for his repairs. Grushka appears and kills a guy to show off his enhancements while Ito chastises Alita for her decisions. Grushka begs for Alita, and the dog defends her, but Grushka kills it. Alita, enraged, paints warrior marks on her face with the blood of the dog and begins attacking Grushka. Hugo instantly pulls Ito away, despite his desire to assist. Grushka digs a hole in the earth to confront Alita in the ancient world's ruins. Alita fights magnificently again, but this time Grushka's enhancements allow him to damage her leg. Grushka informs her that she was created by Nova exactly like him, which upsets Alita. Alita fails to evade Grushka's next assault and loses much of her body. This brings back memories of Gelda showing Alita how to fight. She told her not to give up since they needed to defeat Nova as soon as possible. Alita, encouraged by Gelda's comments, uses her remaining arm to bounce her body and hit Grushka in the eye socket. Suddenly she collapses, just in time for Ito and Hugo to come and assault Grushka as well. Nova assumes Vector's body in order to chastise Grushka and remind him of his goal. Vector realizes he can't trust Gruishka with such a crucial task and meets with Hugo to discuss about Alita getting him intoxicated. Alita discovers Hugo at his apartment the next day, suffering from a hangover. They discuss Hugo's desire of reaching Salem, and Alita offers to give him the money she earns from bounties in order for him to purchase a ticket from Vector. Hugo says he doesn't want her to be in danger again, and Alita says she'd do everything for him, including giving him her heart. To illustrate her argument, she removes it from her chest, but Hugo declines and reminds her that Vector wants to see Alita play motorball. Alita agrees provided Hugo becomes her coach, so they may travel to Salem together if she wins. Zappin could see all of this from a distance. Ito provides Alita with extra safety and custom-made skate feet on the night of her first major game. Alita selects the number in memory of her memories, while Vector calls the other participants to offer a massive prize to whoever kills Alita during the competition. Hugo discovers Tanji and the others on the streets obtaining components from a cyborg. He declares his intention to leave the company, which sparks a conflict between him and Tanji. They are abruptly stopped by Zappin, who murders the jacked cyborg to make it appear as though the jackers did it, then assaults Hugo and injures his shoulder. Tanji attempts to save his companion, but Zappin effortlessly dispatches him with his blade. Hugo seizes the opportunity to distract Zappin with a Molotov bomb and flees, only to be pursued by Zappin. Vector informs Chiron inside the stadium that he forced Hugo to bring Alita to them by offering to transport him to Salem. Ito notices Alita's opponents aren't regular gamers, they're all bounty hunters or hunter warriors, indicating that this is a trap. He warns Alita via the communicator on her system, but she continues to battle. These guys are tough and score a few blows on her, but Alita is far superior and effortlessly defeats them all. Alita receives a phone call from Hugo, who informs her that he requires her assistance in defeating Zappin. Alita leaves the stadium quickly by jumping through the stadium's huge screen, and the other players pursue her. Alita has no issue beating them all up now that she has more freedom to maneuver and is on her way to locate Hugo, who is going to be slain by Zappin. Alita quickly pulls Zappin away, but the bounty screens reveal that Hugo is sought for murder. Hugo admits to being a jacker but clarifies that he just played the parts without murdering. Alita is reminded of the Hunter's Code by Zappin, but because Alita cannot bring herself to kill the man she loves, Zappin stabs Hugo first. Suddenly, a Centurion arrives to request Hugo's body. Alita snatches him up and flees with him. Hugo swears at a hidden location that he did not kill anyone and that he abandoned his work for Alita, and the two of them kiss and express their love for each other. Chiron observes everything from a distance and is so moved by their bond that when Vector contacts her, she tells him she has lost track of Alita and Hugo. Then she offers her assistance to them in order for the boy to live. Alita appears moments afterward, holding Hugo's head in her arms. The Centurion accepts this as Alita completes the bounty, but Zappin investigates further and realizes Chiron has linked Hugo's brain to Alita's core. Ito has finished giving Hugo a new body, albeit a fairly primitive one, after hours of work. Ito informs Alita that Vector's promises were fabricated and that the only way to reach Salem is to become a champion. He knows since he and Chiron are from Salem, and Nova compelled them to move here when he discovered their daughter was flawed. Ito erased the mark from his forehead in order to move on from that existence. Elsewhere, Vector confronts Chiron about abandoning Alita. Chiron reveals that Alita reminded her of her responsibilities as a doctor and a mother, and she wants to leave since she no longer cares for Salem. Vector has no option except to dispatch a guard to pursue her. Alita walks to the Hunter Warriors headquarters, which is housed in the Cyborg industrial building, determined to get revenge on Hugo. Alita smashes all the Centurions and the bounty system with Zappin's sword before storming into Vector's office, where she learns Vector has stolen Chiron's body parts to sell later. She's so preoccupied that she doesn't see Gruishka's arrival and is injured on her hip, triggering another memory. Alita, Gelda, and their squad attempted to reach Salem by climbing the shipping tubes during the conflict. Before breaking the tube in half, a serrated defensive ring appeared on the tub and slaughtered the army, leaving just Alita and Gelda remaining. Alita barely managed to hold on, and Gelda lifted her back up while reminding her that the purpose was to destroy Salem. Alita uses Gelda's words to remind her body that it can repair itself, and then she kills Gruishka with just a few movements. Alita then asks to speak with Nova, and the Overlord responds by taking over Vector's body. He reminds Alita that he can see everything and threatens to murder Ito and Hugo, prompting an angry Alita to kill Vector in order to silence him. Ito then phones Alita to advise her that Hugo had to flee because Centurions were pursuing him. Alita hunts for her lover and discovers him climbing the tube to achieve his goal. Hugo doesn't listen no matter how many times Alita explains that Nova is using him to get to her, and Nova takes advantage of the opportunity to drop a serrated ring on them. Alita avoids it, but Hugo is struck and loses much of his body. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel to see more similar movie recaps.